So your boss had concerns about your judgment. Your former boss, Dr. Hill, had concerns about your judgment. Your colleagues had concerns about your judgment, and your colleagues felt that there were times when you leaked information. Any idea why they have those impressions, Colonel Vindman?
Yes, Representative Jordan. I guess I'll start by reading Dr. Hill's own words, as she attested to in my last evaluation that was dated middle of July, right before she left. Alex is a top 1% military officer and the best Army officer I have worked with in my 15 years of government service. He is brilliant, unflappable, and exercises excellent judgment.
So
it was was exemplary during numerous visits, so forth and so on, but I think you get the idea. Mr. Morrison, yeah, the date of that was, let's see, I'm sorry, July 13th. So, Mr. Jordan, I would say that I can't say what why Mr. Morrison questioned my judgment. We had only recently started working together. He wasn't there very long, and we were just trying to figure out our relationship. Maybe it was a different cultures, military culture versus.
And Colonel, you never leaked information?
I never did, never would. That is preposterous that I would do that.
Okay.
This is Jim Jordan, a member of the We Love Our Military Party, who used his time during the third day of public hearings to cast doubt on Lieutenant Colonel Vindman's judgment. To be clear, here's the man the Republican lawmaker is looking to smear. Alexander Vindman sought refuge in the United States when he was 3, went on to graduate from Cornell, deployed to South Korea, then Germany, then Iraq, where he was wounded by a roadside bomb and was awarded a Purple Heart, then became an Army Foreign Area officer specializing in Russia for the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, before ultimately joining the National Security Council in 2018, which makes it all the more shameful when Jim Jordan spent his initial time with Lieutenant Colonel Vindman questioning his patriotism. But of course, Vindman brought the receipts. He reads his own glowing performance review from his very last evaluation, written by the same person whose words Jordan tried to invoke to smear Vindman. And I'm not sure whether it was the part where Fiona Hill called Vindman the best Army officer I'd worked with in my 15 years of government service, or he's brilliant, unflappable, and exercises excellent judgment, but it wasn't much of a surprise when Jordan quickly abandoned his doomed line of questioning. I should mention too that Jim Jordan probably isn't the best person to be casting doubt on the credibility of a witness who reported misconduct, considering he's contending with his own credible accusations of ignoring the abuse of over 170 boys while he was the assistant wrestling coach at OSU. To call him an imperfect messenger would probably be an understatement. But it wasn't just Vindman's judgment that Republicans called into question. The GOP engaged in a concerted effort on multiple fronts to cast doubt on his patriotism. Steve Castor, the Republican counsel, tried to highlight the fact that he was offered a role as Minister of Defense in Ukraine to suggest that he has dual loyalties.
When you went to Ukraine for the inauguration?
Correct.
May 20th. At any point during that trip, did Mr. Daniluk offer you a position of defense minister with the Ukrainian government?
He did.
And how many times did he do that?
I believe it was 3 times.
And do you have any reason why he asked you to do that?
I don't know, but every single time I dismissed it. Upon returning, I notified my chain of command and the appropriate counterintelligence folks about the offer.
I mean, Ukraine's a country that's experienced a war with Russia. Certainly their Minister of Defense is a pretty key position for the Ukrainians. President Zelensky, Mr. Daniluk, to bestow that honor on you, at least asking you. I mean, that was a big honor, correct?
I think it would be a great honor, and frankly, I'm aware of service members that have left service to help nurture the developing democracies in that part of the world, certainly in the Baltics. Former officers, and if I recall correctly, it was an Air Force officer that became Minister of Defense. But I'm an American. I came here when I was a toddler, and I immediately dismissed these offers, did not entertain them.
Lieutenant Colonel Vindman even had to correct Nunes, who had refused to call him by his correct title.
Mr. Vindman, you testified in your deposition that you did not know the whistleblower.
Ranking member, it's Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, please.
Lieutenant Colonel Vindman.
And not only did these attacks come across as desperate, but they were un-American. And that was blatantly obvious. Democrats immediately called them out for these disgusting smears, and Republicans on the committee were left looking small and petty. What Republicans were doing, in effect, was trying to discredit an American hero who nearly sacrificed his life for this country in defense of an obvious criminal who lied on 5 separate occasions to avoid serving at all. To think that the GOP had ever likened itself to the party of the military is a laughingstock. With all of that said, I guess I shouldn't be surprised that Republicans were completely unable to foresee their tenuous defenses get decimated almost instantly. The entire impeachment inquiry thus far has been a clinic in debunking whatever conspiracy theory defenses the GOP manages to cook up. From claiming that the whistleblower is a partisan, to claiming that a complaint can't be based on secondhand information, that Schiff personally counseled the whistleblower, that impeachment is unconstitutional, that Democrats aren't allowing Republicans into the private depositions, that the aid was ultimately delivered so there was no crime. It goes on and on. Nearly every single day has been a new excuse, each one easily and duly shut down faster than the last. The fact is, with witnesses like Alexander Vindman joining the ranks of Marie Yovanovitch and Bill Taylor and George Kent, trying to suggest that they are not credible is a fool's errand. And that's only made more apparent by the fact that the people trying to smear them are the least credible ones of all.